a very tragic incident today here at the King Soopers. There was loss of life. We have multiple people who were killed in this incident. And I am sorry to have to report that one of them was a Boulder police officer.
A mass shooting at a grocery store in Boulder this afternoon, multiple fatalities, and as you heard there from Boulder police, a police officer also killed today. We do know that a suspect is in custody and was injured and has been taken to the hospital where that person is being treated, and we do await more information from Boulder police on the developing situation today. No other injuries reported. Joining me now is former FBI agent Phil Andrew. Phil, as you hear the details of this investigation continuing, what will investigators be looking at to determine exactly what happened? I think top of mind, there has to be some surveillance video inside this store.
That's right, Marnie. They're going to be looking to gather some of that electronic evidence, and that's going to come from some people are going to have some of that just because they were able to take out their phones. There will be fixed surveillance as well. They're going to be breaking that down and matching that with the eyewitness reports.
What are some other things investigators will be looking into? There were reports earlier in the day that there was potentially a second shooter. What goes into clearing a scene, making sure that everything is okay, and communicating that information in a timely manner to the public?
Well, first, they want to make sure that the scene is completely safe for the other people there, for the witnesses, and any injured, and that is a very dynamic situation where the police are moving in. Next is really to cordon off and protect that evidence so that they can gather it carefully. And that's everything from shell casings to maybe articles of clothing to where people might have been situated so that they can take general photos and then start moving into specific photos to capture that evidence and maintain a chain of custody. The next thing that they're going to be doing is really digging into this suspect's background. That's going to be the greatest indicator of motive here and will lead to a greater understanding of what took place here.
Phil, the tragic loss of life today is more than heartbreaking. We're seeing images of people hugging one another outside of this store. When you watched what happened today unfold, as many of us did, what goes through your mind as a law enforcement officer?
Well, I think a lot about the survivors, the law enforcement officer that it was apparently lost today. The traumatic effect of just being exposed close-hand to this violence, and obviously the loss and injury of loved ones, is a lifelong recovery. And Boulder and Colorado are no strangers to this kind of loss and devastation. In fact, some of the nation's protocols were developed from some of their prior tragedies. So my hope is that they will be availed some of the social service support, the mental health support, and the traumatic response that they're going to need. And that starts right now, and it will continue for a long time.
And getting it right and making sure that the information coming out to the public and the media is accurate, of course, is critical at this time in the investigation. Do you anticipate more information tonight from the Boulder Police Department or other law enforcement agencies to give us a better picture of what happened and who was impacted and the fatalities that did occur?
I think that's difficult to say. I find that law enforcement is being more and more careful about the information that they're going to release, particularly in this very volatile time where masks can result in mass shootings, complaints about mask wearing, that we have hate crimes and racial tensions, that law enforcement is going to be very careful not to making any indicator of what they think this is going to be until they have some strong evidence leading to it.
And Phil, real quickly before I let you go, the impact of social media in these types of situations. We did have witnesses on the ground today streaming live video of what was happening, explaining to people what was going on. How does that impact or hinder law enforcement's abilities to get a situation under control?
Well, it had become very challenging. What we've seen with social media is not only can it be the sort of the vector, the accelerator of violence. So kind of one of the reasons behind why the violence is committed in the first place. But now it has become very dynamic in the way law enforcement has to respond to actual direct and real-time reporting on social media. And this is a huge challenge for the social media providers. And there has to be just so much greater cooperation with them and law enforcement to either mitigate that or allow law enforcement to use that effectively to protect public safety.
Phil, Andrew, we appreciate your time as always. Former FBI agent, tragic situation in Boulder. As we wait to learn more, we know tonight multiple lives were lost in another mass shooting in the middle of the day. Phil, appreciate it.
Thanks, Bonnie.